Welcome to another r/Bestof story. Before we dive in, just a quick note. There might be a few minor audio or formatting quirks in this episode, but nothing too distracting. Today's story is intense and full of tension, dealing with a complicated relationship and a difficult personal challenge. It's a real look into how trust, boundaries, and understanding play out when something deeply personal comes between two people who care for each other. Let's get into it. Our storyteller, a woman in her late 20s, shares how she met her boyfriend about 3 years ago. From the beginning, they connected deeply and shared their hopes for a meaningful relationship. Early on, he opened up about a personal interest, something unusual that some might find hard to understand. They talked openly and honestly about it, agreeing that communication and respect would be key to making things work. To keep their relationship healthy, they agreed he would seek professional help to explore his interests safely and responsibly. This involved seeing a specialist who understood his needs in a controlled and respectful way. This arrangement seemed to work well, and for a while, their relationship felt strong, full of love, trust, and mutual care. His interest was in what's called blood play, an activity involving some mild, controlled use of blood in intimate situations. It's not common, and it requires clear rules and trust to be done safely. They discussed boundaries carefully. She made it clear that she was not comfortable participating, but supported him finding safe ways to explore his interest elsewhere. That's where a professional came in, a sex worker experienced in this area, who provided a safe outlet for him without involving her directly. This setup kept their relationship balanced. He could fulfill his needs, and she could maintain her comfort and boundaries. Under these conditions, their relationship was as close to perfect as it could be. They were happy, loving, and respectful. When the pandemic hit, everything changed for us. The sex worker my boyfriend usually saw had to switch to online-only sessions because of safety restrictions. At first, it seemed like a minor adjustment, but it quickly became clear it wasn't going to be simple. My boyfriend started getting restless and frustrated. He missed the in-person sessions and began pressuring me more to take part in things that made me uncomfortable. He said it would help us both, but I felt sick and uneasy every time he pushed. I kept trying to explain my limits, but he brushed it off like I was just being difficult. Our conversations grew tense. What used to be open and honest now felt like arguments where I had to defend my boundaries. I never wanted to hurt him or make him feel unsupported, but I couldn't ignore the way his demands made me feel. Sometimes, when I said no, he'd get angry and leave the room without talking. Other times, he'd keep pushing, trying to convince me it was for the good of our relationship. I felt trapped between wanting to make him happy and protecting my own well-being. The stress started affecting me physically. I had trouble sleeping and felt anxious all the time. The pandemic made it impossible to keep the balance we had before. Instead of working together, it felt like we were drifting apart. I wanted to believe things would get better once the restrictions eased, but the tension only grew. I wasn't sure how much longer I could hold on before something had to give. One night, things crossed a line that I couldn't ignore. We were trying to be intimate, but it quickly turned into a nightmare. My boyfriend suddenly bit me hard enough to break the skin. It wasn't part of our usual boundaries, and I froze, shocked and scared. I told him immediately that it hurt and that I wasn't okay with it. But instead of apologizing, he seemed frustrated, saying I wasn't getting into it enough. I tried to explain that what he did was too much, but he kept brushing me off. After that night, I couldn't sleep next to him. I felt unsafe in my own home. The biting incident wasn't just painful physically, it shook my trust in him. We started sleeping in separate rooms, but the emotional distance felt even worse. I wanted to talk about what happened, to set clearer limits, but every time I brought it up, he either ignored me or told me I was overreacting. His demands only got louder. He wanted me to try more, push harder, and meet his needs in ways I wasn't comfortable with. I felt my fear growing alongside my discomfort. What once felt like a quirky, negotiated relationship now felt dangerous. I wanted to leave but felt stuck, partly because I loved him, and partly because I wasn't sure if I could manage the fallout alone. Feeling alone, I turned to an online community to share my story. The reactions were mixed but mostly eye-opening. Many people had experiences with similar fetishes and warned me how easily things can spiral when boundaries aren't respected. Some users shared chilling stories about partners pushing too far, sometimes leading to real abuse or self-harm. Others talked about how some fetishes, especially those involving blood or pain, require a lot of trust, communication, and safety measures. They emphasized that consent has to be ongoing and that pressure or coercion is a huge red flag. Several sex workers and experts weighed in, explaining how important aftercare and hygiene are in risky play, and how ignoring these can cause lasting physical and emotional damage. Reading these comments made me realize how serious my situation was. It wasn't just about discomfort anymore. It was about my safety and dignity. The community's stories and advice made it clear that I deserved better. I wasn't just a weird kink partner or someone to be pushed around. I was a person with limits that had to be respected. At the same time, the warnings created a sense of urgency. This wasn't a harmless fetish. It could quickly become harmful without care and respect. The stories built tension in my mind, showing the real-world consequences of ignoring red flags. I knew I needed to make a decision soon, for my health and my future. After months of feeling trapped and scared, I finally reached my breaking point. I couldn't keep everything bottled up anymore. Late one night, I messaged my best friend and told her I needed to talk urgently. When I met her, I spilled everything. The secret fetish, the biting incident, the pressure, and the fights. She listened quietly, clearly shocked by how bad things had gotten. She told me that what I was going through wasn't normal or okay. Hearing her say that made a heavy weight lift off my shoulders. She affirmed that my feelings were valid and that I wasn't imagining things. She said it sounded like I was in an abusive relationship, even if it didn't fit the typical mold. Her support gave me clarity. For the first time, I saw my relationship for what it truly was: toxic and dangerous. I realized I had been ignoring so many red flags, hoping things would improve, or that I was just being too sensitive. But I wasn't. My boundaries mattered, and they were being violated. That night with my friend was a turning point. I knew I needed to act, for my own safety and peace of mind. When I confronted him about everything, the argument exploded quickly. I told him I was done with the pressure, the pain, and the lies. To my surprise, he admitted he had taken some terrible advice from someone in his fetish community. This person had encouraged him to push boundaries without care, thinking it would convert me into liking it too. I was disgusted and hurt by this revelation. I couldn't even look at him as we yelled at each other. I told him firmly that it was over, that I wouldn't tolerate this anymore. He stormed out while I cried in the guest room. The next day, I stayed with my best friend. When he started blowing up my phone with apologies and pleas, I blocked him everywhere. My friend helped me pack my things and gave me a safe place to stay. I felt broken, but also relieved. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't alone. I knew healing would be a long road, but I had taken the most important step. I walked away. Even now, I remind myself that leaving was the right choice. I'm focusing on rebuilding my confidence and learning to trust myself again. The scars may linger, but so will the strength I found when I chose to prioritize my well-being over fear or guilt. After sharing my story online, the response was overwhelming. Many Reddit users praised my courage for leaving such a difficult and risky situation. They warned others about the dangers of pressuring partners into fetishes that involve real physical risk, especially ones like biting or blood play that can cause serious injury or infection. Comments emphasized how important it is to respect boundaries and maintain open communication in any relationship. Several people shared their own experiences with similar fetishes gone wrong, warning that even consensual kink requires constant care and mutual respect. Experts and sex workers added their voices too, explaining that without proper safety measures, these activities can lead to lasting harm, both physically and emotionally. The community's empathy reminded me that I wasn't alone and that my feelings were valid. Reading their advice and support helped me feel stronger and more hopeful for the future. Boundaries are not optional. They are essential, and no one should ever feel pressured to cross them, no matter the relationship. To lighten the mood a bit after such a heavy story, I want to share another Reddit post that caught my attention. This one was about a very different kind of awkward situation, an embarrassing medical condition someone had. An 18-year-old woman shared how she sneezed every time she felt aroused. Yes, sneezing. She was worried that telling the guy she liked might freak him out, so she kept it a secret and lied that she just had a cold. Eventually, after spending more time together, she confessed the truth. The guy's reaction was surprisingly understanding and even funny. They shared laughs over his accidental embarrassment, and it helped them grow closer. This story shows a different side of relationships, one about acceptance, humor, and learning to be comfortable with someone's quirks. It was a refreshing reminder that relationships come in all shapes and forms. While the first story dealt with dangerous boundaries, this one highlights the importance of honesty and finding partners who accept you fully, even when things get a little weird. Sometimes, sharing these lighter moments can balance the tension and remind us that despite the challenges, there's hope and joy in finding someone who truly understands and supports you. Looking back on my experience, I've learned so much about trust, boundaries, and self-respect. Relationships should never be about pressure or fear. They are about mutual care and understanding. No fetish or kink is worth sacrificing your safety or peace of mind. I encourage anyone listening to really pay attention to red flags. If your partner is pushing you beyond what you're comfortable with or ignoring your boundaries, that's a serious warning sign. Communication is key. Always discuss limits openly and honestly, and never be afraid to say no. Exploring desires can be exciting, but it should only happen with willing partners who respect your limits. Consent and safety aren't optional. They're essential. If you ever feel unsafe or manipulated, trust your instincts and seek help if needed. Healing takes time, but it's possible. I'm slowly rebuilding my confidence and learning to trust again. I hope my story helps others realize they're not alone, and that walking away from toxic situations is an act of courage and self-love. Remember, you deserve respect, kindness, and honesty. No relationship should make you feel less than that. Thank you so much for listening and following this story with me. I really appreciate every one of you who takes the time to engage with these experiences. If this story resonated with you, please consider leaving a comment or sharing it with someone who might benefit. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this, where we explore real-life relationships, challenges, and the lessons that come with them. Stay tuned for the next episode, where we'll dive into another compelling Reddit story that you won't want to miss. Until then, take care of yourself, respect your boundaries, and remember, your well-being always comes first. See you next time.